Hi, this is the Amazing Atheist. I. This is not the Amazing Atheist, actually. You can tell by my body. Not saying that the Amazing Atheist is fat. I'm just saying that he should probably watch his calories. Anyways, no offense. That wasn't a dig, Amazing Atheist. That was me being silly. So this video is about freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And, as it pertains to YouTube. And see, the thing is, there's been this very strange, like spiders. Okay, for now, I'm gonna use a visual metaphor. It's like spiders. Okay. And this will be a hard visual metaphor for me to use because I'm an arachnophobe and I fucking hate spiders. They literally creep me out. But in American society these days, there are spiders. And if you think of things in terms of like pest control, spiders hide in the ceiling, they hide in the walls, they hide, underneath, things, like especially if a room is like unkempt, they might hide underneath like linen and shit like that. But they creep in. And see, the thing is, I had a room one time, and this is continuing the visual metaphor. I'm not going to go off on some random tangent. I had a room one time where I had a window that had a screen on it, but there had been some mice in the house, and so there was little holes bitten out of the screen, and so spiders would creep in through those holes, and even baby spiders, especially because a spider will have a bunch of babies, and the baby spiders crawl into the house, and then they'll fucking grow up and become grown-up spiders and shit like that. Okay. Keeping that visual metaphor in mind, in America, in American society, and in Western society in general, there are spiders creeping in through the holes in the screen. And what I mean by that is, anyone, especially at this point in time, people on the left who are, Democrats, but a lot of themselves don't even call themselves Democrats anymore. They're just fucking Marxists. But they're creeping in, and what they're doing is they're doing something very fucking Orwellian. And if you don't know what that word means, Orwellian, read 1984 by George Orwell. But it's what I mean is that they're using newspeak. Now, newspeak, if you haven't read George Orwell or 1984, then you don't know what I'm talking about. It's basically the redefinition of language. Now, I'm a writer. And I'm very adept at manipulating the English language. And as a writer, I've always been very nitpicky about, meanings and definitions of words and stuff like that. Of course, because if you're a writer, you have to do that. Or else your writing is shit. But what this sort of... And I'm going to give a shout out to Jordan Peterson. I don't agree with him on everything because he seems to have a Christian bent, and he's one of those people where he's an atheist, but he thinks that Christianity is good for people. So I don't necessarily agree with him on every single thing, but he does a good job at talking shit on Marxism and postmodernism, and you know, if you want to watch Jordan Peterson, just go on YouTube and search Jordan Peterson Joe Rogan, because Jordan was on the pardon me, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, and so they you know, they hash shit out, and like I said, I don't agree with everything that Jordan Peterson says, but he makes a lot of very salient points. But basically what he talks about, just to kind of like boil it down, is that if you don't know what and see, the thing is, I'm fucking eating up my minutes. I can't really explain postmodernism right now, or at least in depth, but basically the whole point of postmodernism is that anything that exists in reality can be interpreted in an infinity different ways. And one thing that pisses me off is that postmodernism gets mistaken with transgenderism with a lot of people, because it's like, oh, I'm a man, but I identify as a woman. And then you have someone like Dirty Hippie Panda who's like, I'm a woman, but I identify as an attack helicopter. And, you know, that was satire. And I love Dirty Hippie Panda. I think she's cute, and I have a crush on her, and I would totally stoop her. But, you know, there's just so much misinformation just fucking flying around these days. You know, on the internet especially. And see, the thing is, you know, I'm old enough to remember a time when the internet did not exist. And so people's ideas were sort of more constrained within sort of like the mainstream. But once the World Wide Web came out, you know, it opened Pandora's box, and it just fucking, it just, you know, any sort of idea could be spread like wildfire, also known as wildfire. You know, like fucking flat Earth, for goddamn sake. Speaking of flat Earth, I have to give a shout out to Patricia Steer. What's up, Patty? I don't really have a whole lot to say to Patricia Steer, besides the fact that she's always been nice to me in our very limited personal communications. But this video is not about Patricia Steer. It's about self-expression. It's about the internet. It's about, you know, me sitting here going on fucking YouTube and expressing myself unapologetically. And I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not the most successful person in the world. But I have a voice. And unlike a lot of other people who I'm sure agree with me, you know, I have skills in language, and I'm very articulate, and I do have a high IQ, and I don't flaunt it. I'm not a self-masturbating son of a bitch like Eric Dubay or someone like that, who probably got into, he's actually a yoga instructor. You remember when the fucking what's his name, Scaramucci, the mooch, talked about how Steve Bannon wanted to suck his own dick? Eric Dubay is literally a yoga instructor. I bet that Eric Dubay has sucked his own dick, and he's such a narcissistic son of a bitch that I wouldn't be surprised. Anyways.